I don't think that I could have ever truly prepared myself for how it would be to leave the rat race and go tiny. In the pursuit of a more simple and less stressful life. A shift that would turn out to be, at least in some ways, anything but simple, and sometimes also very stressful. Financially, practically, and I guess also emotionally. Yet it taught me a thing or two about my relationship to myself and also to other people. However, I guess I could have gained some of these insights in more pleasant ways had I just been a little bit more prepared for how this life transition of mine would turn out. And I know that many of you out there are also considering leaving the rat race, maybe to do something similar. So I hope that this video finds you well and may give you some food for thought before you embark on your own journey. So, finally cooking. Oi, a very smoky meal after a long day. It's always busy here in the spring, always a lot to do on the homestead, especially when you're building a new house and also establishing a new permaculture kitchen garden. So right now I'm just cooking an easy dish with some red lenses and some chickpeas and some Indian spices that my sister brought home from New Delhi. And then some rice and some cauliflower. And I think it will be, yeah, just fine for me. But when I was cooking, I was just thinking about that. I don't think that I actually ever on this channel talked about how it was for me to transition away from a life in the city, like a regular life, as many people maybe would call it, and into this off-grid tiny house life. And I just came to think about that there were like 3 major things for me that was of like big significance. One was of course on a personal level, also on a career level, like job and work-wise. And then there is, I guess, on the relational level. And starting with the relational, I think it was a little bit difficult in the beginning for people around me to really understand what it is that I was going through, because most people in Denmark at the time didn't really know about tiny living and this kind of lifestyle, so they didn't really understand it, so it was hard for them to be supportive of it. Like looking from the outside, I was doing something crazy because I was leaving a good secure job with a good pension and good colleagues and just like endeavoring into the unknown. And it was during COVID and lockdown, and so it was not like very easy to just get a new job. But I was very optimistic in the beginning because I was just like, well, I can work as a consultant and I can use my network and like I can just figure something out because I live so cheaply in my tiny house, so it won't be like a big deal. But it was a bit hard for people to really understand, I guess. And then also like on a romantic level, I just had this hard realization that not a lot of women necessarily like the idea that a guy is not in a secure position in terms of his income and in terms of his lifestyle. Some really dig it and some really don't. And I just learned that I didn't think about that in the beginning because that was not part of my considerations at all. But it was just also like a hard hitter for me at the time. Yeah, and then I had some friends who were really supportive and other friends who were like smiling through their teeth, but I could really sense that they didn't really think that it was a good idea. So yeah, it was just interesting to go through, and you really learn something about people around you. Everyone will give their opinion one way or the other, and most people just want what's best for you. But some people, you learn, try to give you some advice as if they were giving themselves an advice or a piece of advice. And that's not necessarily a good advice for you, but you need to distinguish between what is a good advice for you and when they are just advising themselves in a way. But I really think I gained a new understanding maybe of my friends and also my family and the way that they were trying to support me and trying to help me and the way that they went about doing that. And then in terms of career, I also experienced that as kind of like a hard process in a way, because I had this secure job, as I mentioned. I was working in city development. I was the one who was in charge of engaging citizens and architects and city planners and municipality people in processes where they could work together in developing like city plans. And I was like developing methods for that, and that was my job. And it was a good job, it was a secure job, and I had some really great colleagues. And then all of a sudden I didn't have it because I quit my job, and then I went living in a tiny house, and it just hit me so hard that a lot of the things that I had taken for granted, like a pension and a secure salary and never having to speculate about where the money comes from, like all of a sudden it was all gone. So I had some savings, but I didn't want to use them because I wanted to save them for a really rainy day, and eventually I bought this property with those savings. So I was glad that I didn't use them. So I just really needed to learn how to get by on like $1. Like it was like I had no money for a long time. And it really changed my outlook on myself. And I really needed to think about who am I as a working person in new ways. And that was when I came up with this idea that my work is not necessarily my salary, in the sense that I can do work that I can survive on, but it's not measured in monetary terms, and it's not like a career path. It can be growing potatoes and saving money in other ways. So I don't have a job, but I'm working, and I'm working more than I have maybe ever worked in my life. And in the beginning I felt it was a bit constraining because, oh no, I'm outside of the box, so who am I? But now I think it's very liberating, because now it just means that I can do whatever just to survive, and I will be perfectly fine. Like I don't need to identify with some kind of job description in order to feel whole or feel as a normal human being. And that is, for me at least, it's very much a freedom. And then in terms of the personal, I in many ways needed to reinvent myself, because when I transitioned into this life, I met myself like in my darkest hours, and I was, in a way, I faced my own fears, because I had no money, I had no future, I had no girlfriend, I had no nothing, I had no proper home. Some people even called me homeless, because technically I was homeless and I had no job. And one of the things that I also reinvented was this notion that I was like, beforehand I was like a consumer, because if anything broke in my life, like a TV or whatnot, I would just go buy a new one. But now, living this lifestyle, having no money, I really needed to learn how to be creative in order for me to fix stuff and repair stuff and build stuff or grow stuff in my garden. And it really changed my outlook on life and on myself, because now I was not like a consumer. Now I was more like a creator or a producer or a maker of things. And it really changed the way that I felt about myself. Like I felt more competent in life as I went a little further down the road, because suddenly I could take care of myself in new ways. I could grow my own food, I could build a house, I could figure out how I could make money one way or the other, like doing whatever I could just to survive. So I made these online courses where I sold my knowledge about tiny living, and I earned just enough to survive on that. And then later on I tried to make like physical courses in tiny house building, and then someone hired me for folk high school, and then I went out there and went teaching in tiny house building. And then when the COVID lockdown was over, I could come out in society and do presentations and do a lot of talking, because that was really my bird in hand. You know, the saying that one bird in the hand is better than 10 on the roof. So that was really my bird in hand. It was doing presentations, because I had done a lot of that in my former job. So sometimes you really just need to do what you're already good at, but then reframe it in a new way. And I did that. So I discovered myself again. So now I was just doing courses, I was doing presentations, and then suddenly I could survive. Yeah, so right now I'm just like this very, I guess, practical person, and I identify with myself in a different way now. So I would say that I really feel more competent in life in many ways. But I can still feel very insecure about it all, and I can still have my bad days. But all in all, I think that like I have grown as a human being from being on this journey and facing my fears and really putting myself out on the deepest water possible. And maybe it was a little bit too harsh, but at the same time I survived. Even though there was a lot of hardship on this journey, I wouldn't have traded it with anything, I guess, because I'm at a place now where I could never have imagined that I would be. And I'm very grateful for that. So, but it's always hard giving other people advice, but I really think that my morale in this story maybe is to really have the guts to listen to yourself if you know that it's something that's calling from deep within, and also know that other people around you, even though they might not necessarily understand what it is that you're going through and might not seem very supportive, they actually just want to help you. And just see it in that light and not judge them too harshly, because maybe you need to do what you need to do and they won't support you, and that's fine, but you just need to know that they still want what's best for you, I guess. So, but anyways, I think right now that my dinner is more than ready, so now I can just finally relax and enjoy this beautiful evening. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it and maybe even found some inspiration. See you again next time.